This is the Dog Savant Podcast with your host, Brett Endies.
Hey everyone, it's Brett and welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. This is episode 18, I believe. I'm not going to commit because I always mess that up and say the wrong episode and I don't want to confuse you guys. But it is another one of those car podcasts or car casts, not in the studio today, but I figured I would take advantage of my long drive I have going on here and I'd share some dog information with you. Today we are going to talk about operant conditioning, purely positive training, how animals learn, learning theory, how we learn. It was the highlight of the episode this week on the Untrainables, episode 4. That's the Untrainables. This is the podcast, episode 18. And we talked a lot. We were teaching Henry the Husky how to do a recall, just some basic pointers on how timing, how conditioning works, how consistency works. And I just wanted to share with you. Before that, I wanted to talk about the business at hand. The podcast, okay, what you're listening to or watching right now, I need your support. I need you to share this, subscribe, review. I want to keep this going. I want people to just give me that feedback, and I want other people to get some more of this information. You know, that's really why I do what I do, why I'm putting myself out there more, because this stuff works. It really helps achieve the everyday training goals that people are looking for with their dogs, whether it be a problem you're dealing with or you're dealing with just, like in this episode, we're just going to talk about how to teach your dog to listen better, to whether it be a recall command or a trick you're trying to teach them, or to shape a behavior or to reinforce improvement, and how that conditioning works with reward or treats or praise or toys, whatever it might be, to tap into the reward receptor system. So share that again. Go to my website, dogtrainingla.com or thedogsavant.com. From there, you can link up to my YouTube page. You can get lots of videos there. We also do a video version of this podcast. If you're listening on iTunes, we also have where you can see my handsome face giving you this info. But any way you listen to it, take that information and apply it to your dog. Share with your friends. I want to help as many dogs as possible. So, operant conditioning. What do I think? How can I put this, right? I think it's really funny how the first people to attack me are the purely positive trainers. And what they do is they rely solely on conditioning. They don't address the relationship. They don't address the root causality of an issue. They don't address the sensory component of it all, or a dog's instincts, or what dogs are meant to do when in the presence of humans. They just feel that everything is about learning theory, and that's that. And what I think is, again, so funny is that when they attack me like they know better, first of all, I use purely positive. It was the highlight of the entire Untrainables episode this week, right? Second of all, I have a degree in psychology, and I've taken many courses in actual learning theory, where I've actually done full semesters and gotten A's in these courses and done a lot of tests and studies and research and put in the papers and did my time and took the exams. So I'm pretty qualified to know what I'm talking about, even though some of the purely positives beg to differ, because they see me talking about it being more of a rule-based structure exercise, and they all of a sudden jump into that, well, he must be being corporal punishment and alpha rolling the dogs and choke chains, and I don't do that at all. You can see what I do. There's tons of videos demonstrating that. You hear what I'm explaining. But people, they tend to knee-jerk, and then they're blinded to what's going on in front of them. It's not helping dogs, so I try to promote rational approach to dogs and their behaviors and interacting with them, especially for the sake of improving their behaviors or teaching them the skills they need to navigate their everyday lives. So, operant conditioning, it's a very simple thing, and I give an example like this with my clients because I have a lot of clients who are purely positive refugees, or we're going to call them. They've tried other kinds of training, usually with treats and clickers and passive things, and it didn't get any better, and the problems at times got worse, right? But I want to explain to them what the theory is behind that, right? If, you think about what motivates you. Humans, we have different motivators, but I think in general a lot of people are motivated by gold or money or something. So let's say, for example, somebody, you go to somebody's house and there's a drawer, like in a desk or something nearby, and they say, hey, why don't you open that drawer, the owner of the house, and open it up and see what's inside, because whatever's in there is yours. You open it up because you got an open it up, that's your cue, right? Or you can say, hey, when I do, even better, let me explain this a little bit more, how a dog, how you would train a dog. So you have a clicker. Let's go right to the clicker, right? So you say, hey, when you hear this click, click sound, that means you open the drawer and see what's in it. Because with humans, we can explain. With dogs, we have to shape the actual behavior, and that's what you chain together till you get the desired response. Right. So I open the drawer, also there's a gold bar, and then what the person says is, well, that's yours, but then you have to close the drawer again and then be done with that task as soon as you put the gold bar in. Let's say there's like a box that they give me to hold it. For dogs, just put in the treats in their stomach. And they say, okay, Brett, we're going to do this again. Same thing. I'm going to click the clicker, open it up. That's yours again. I start picking up on a pattern, and my reward receptors, because gold means that I'm going to be able to buy things and have food and security, and it starts feeling good when I get it. We're drawn to that, right? Whatever it is, it could be food, it could be something you like, a movie, entertainment, massage, it doesn't matter. It's right, sensory, external, doesn't matter. Then it gets to the point where he starts clicking it, and I'm not even going to wait for him to explain it. I'm going to say, let me see what's in there. I kind of see this pattern. Boom, there's another gold bar. Then it's on, right? Then I said, dag, locked into what this is. I know exactly what it is. Then I start getting selfish-minded. Now I start claiming ownership, maybe not of his entire house, but at least of that space near the desk where I open up the drawer to get the gold bar. And then I start getting possessive of it and anticipating and really, really anxious about when that next click is going to come, because I start getting greedy about it. And then I start assuming it, and then I start thinking 10 steps ahead, and now all of a sudden, instead of being taught to do something, I'm getting promoted to have anxiety. And then my needs are getting met through that anxiety instead of just being at peace and things kind of come to me, which for a dog and for some people, that's a much easier way of existing. So again, the person who trained me to go get the gold bar at the sound of the clicker definitely got a desired response out of me. But the connection of that person with a point where I started losing respect for the fact that it was their house, I became entitled for it, and I just wanted more of a good thing, is what evolved from that. So to teach me maybe, hey, if you want to fix my drawer, some of them, they were going to teach me to do a task to work. Look at that bonus you get. But now you keep doing it, and then when you do a series of tasks, maybe the gold bar comes for doing a lot of things around my house to help the greater good of all of us, not just for your own selfish needs. And that's what goes on when you start overly operant conditioning a dog. However, you can use that in your power. So let's talk now about the Untrainables episode 4 with Henry the Husky, where you saw we have to put a leash on him because we have to create consistency. We want to motivate him to move in our direction, so we stay close, and we use a high value treat, because if we use a treat that he only gets, that's why I always tell clients, if you're going to use a treat for the recall, make it a special one. Don't let him taste that treat unless it's the word come, and then you get the Pavlov's response. But even then, you have to keep building it and chaining it. So you don't want to say, well, every time you come to me from 4 feet away, you're going to get the same treat. The dog's going to only set that as a standard. So you want to build it and stretch it, and sometimes just give physical reward. Sometimes just matter-of-factly let the behavior pan out and let them just follow through. So there's nothing that they're vesting in as the end result, other than we just that initial conditioning to get the ball rolling, and then incrementally condition them for more performance. But then it should be when the chips are down, they do it, because in real life, I don't know anyone who carries around a bait pouch unless you're a purely positive trainer or a dolphin trainer, right? So what happens is that you have to start proofing this and carrying it over. And this also, remember, if your dog has an agenda and anxieties and a lack of respect for the relationship, and these commands applying at any time of life, it's going to be much harder when their impulses are speaking to them and they're running after a squirrel, let's say, and then you say, come. And you're like, but I practice, I use the treats, but then your dog doesn't know how to listen to you in everyday life because their impulses are driving them just to get through their day in your home environment or on walks, let's say. So everything's related to everything. I'm trying to kind of paint this picture of how even if something that is not a goal, that I don't care if my dog's impulsive around the house, as long as they come and I call them, can get in the way of what can be something that is a very bona fide goal you should have for your dog, and can be a safety issue. So I just like to explain this like I explain to my clients, because to paint a picture and to understand how a dog sees it, again, it's rational training. You start seeing what's really going on, and it just drives you to make the proper choices and understand timing and what you're trying to get out of your dog in the whole relationship or resolve their behaviors, right? But again, there is merit to conditioning, right? Just like me with the gold bar, you're going to get a desired response. And to a degree, when you hear come, you want that dog to automatically respond, but you have to work on some of the other issues as well. So I guess the takeaway is conditioning is great. You don't want to rely solely on the treats. You want to set a standard of more performance or improvement or learning new tasks to give incrementally more treats. And then apply it in real life. And then the other side is there's correction. And we're not going to talk about this because this is more of an operant conditioning podcast. And, if I knew how to do those little background emoticons, I'd have sunshines and flowers and rainbows and unicorn, all this fun, feel good and cotton candy floating around my head, right? But that's not real life, and that's not how nature works, and that's not even how our world works. We want to believe that everything's safe spaces and we can't hear things we don't want to hear. Look, there's a lot of things out there that you don't want to deal with, hear, see, things about you that you should be improving that you don't want to own up to, that it's just somebody pointing out. Let's get real here. Nature doesn't work that way, and we shouldn't either. So again, purely positive is good. I work hard, I reward myself with treats. Dogs should do the same, but you have to work hard first. Nothing's going to come easy, and nature isn't set up that way. Okay, so we're at 10-minute mark. These podcasts, when I do it myself, are kind of short and sweet. I'm going to do longer ones with guests. I'm hoping to get some guests on here. I did a good one with Bill that you're going to see. If you're listening to this one, you already saw it. It was last week's podcast. But what we do is sometimes we do a couple in a row and then they come out, every Monday. So this one will probably come out the week after next. So if we're like the first weekend in October, you're going to get like the second Monday of October. This should come out for you, this one. So anyway, thanks again for listening. Don't be afraid to use treats, but don't rely on them. Look into the relationship. If your dog has some severe behavioral issues, you're probably not going to be approaching the training from this, perspective just yet. You want to expect more from your dog. Set the bar higher than a treat at the right time and place can have a merit to help improve what your goals are. But I want you to also follow the Untrainable Share. We're only in our first season. We got to get this thing. It's doing great, but we got to get this to be as popular as possible because that's how we keep this thing going. The second season's really where we can get this message out to a humongous audience. So keep this going. Episode 2 I see is already at 750,000 views. That's amazing. All of our episodes are over 500,000 views. We're trying to get to 1 million. And this is great. And again, if you have questions, send them in to me, email me, post them on social media, put some videos out. Instagram, hashtag at the Dog Savant or the Untrainables, and I'll see them and I'll answer them either on a podcast here or on our live Q&A segments on Facebook Watch. I really am doing this because I want to help a lot of you guys out there with your dogs and get this message out. So when you help your dog, you're going to lead by example, and you're going to create these little communities of conscious, rational dog owners, because there's enough people out there with the chaos, and they're making the people who want more for their dogs and better behaviors the odd person out, and that's not how this should be. That's not how this should be, and that's why I'm speaking out against this, or to promote this so we can actually lead by example. I think that's a better way instead of being so damn negative all the time, right? Let's see. Okay, so, Q&A. I always forget the damn Q&A at the end. So I'm in the car. I'm going to try to commit to memory the question. There was a couple of them. Leash pulling. So we talk a lot about leash pulling. I'll give you like a 2-minute quick thing. Why a dog pulls on a leash and what you can do about it. So dogs, we talk about it a lot, but I can't drill this in enough. Until I stop seeing these dogs dragging their owners around on harnesses, reacting, and not learning how to walk in a structured, focused way that's going to remove all of those issues, I'm going to keep harping on how to walk a dog properly. So dogs have issues with walking and they pull because they are over projecting, or they feel some kind of back tension on the leash, and that's creating an opposition reflex, and that becomes a habit. It either is learned early in life because we allow it, or the dogs are just wired to be hypervigilant, and it kind of leads that by their personality, but you can still teach them the focus. If anything, those dogs are amazing at focusing because they got all that attention ability. You just got to put it into one state instead of them thinking 10 steps ahead. So that's why a dog's pulling. They're over anticipating. They're seeing where they're going before they get there. Why do physical means to helping a dog walk not really helping? Because they're physically controlling the dog, but mentally they're still projecting. So a dog can still see where they're going, even if you're pulling back on a harness, and when you feel that, it just makes that mental rubber band want to stretch more. So that's really the gentle leaders or the no pull harnesses. It's a band-aid. You're going to stop the pulling to a point, but it never resolves it, because if you put the collar back on the dog, a regular or they're going to pull, right? It just doesn't address why. So if you teach your dog to focus, you teach your dog a good heel, a let's go, just a command with the idea that you're staying behind me with a loose leash for us to get ahead. We stop when we sit. I'll command you to go potty, to sniff, to socialize, exercise, and whatnot. But more or less the walks are going to be you following me, staying behind me calmly, letting me lead you, and I'll take on the responsibility so you don't have to have anxiety and insecurities and over anticipation. You need to practice that pretty much under controlled conditions. Get that to be the norm, where they see or they hear let's go, and they know what you're expecting, and then you keep applying it like we spoke about earlier. You can proof it, you can shape it with treats, but then you have to expect more from them based on their instincts to follow somebody who's better suited to lead them through life, especially if your dog has more than pulling, reactivity, social issues, anxiety when entering new environments. This is going to help them navigate through this in a much more calm, controlled, secure way and resolve these issues that you're struggling with. So that's how you teach your dog not to pull, is to teach them not to pull and how to walk in a focused, structured way that's going to create such a difference, and they're going to learn very quickly cause and effect that by not pulling, they get where they need to go, but without the anxiety attached. So with that said, we're going to wrap it up at 15. Thank you so much. I'm excited. This is great. The show is getting me going, and I'm getting good feedback. It's amazing. You know, I just looked at all the trolls, and the very few of you out there, I'm addressing what you have to say, so there's really nothing you can do, but let's take this message out and help more dogs. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.